Alpha. Good morning, Miles. And yes, according to my records, it is our first contact. My name is Grant, Golf Romeo Alpha November Tango, Grant. And my QTH is west of Auckland in the North Island of New Zealand. Lovely conditions on 17 this evening. And your signal report is 59+5 QSL.
Zulu Lima 1, Kilo Victor Alpha, SQ5, EBM Grant, all copied fine, up to S9. Up to S9, so a beautiful, beautiful long path QSO. So I'll, of course, have my preamps on, but without them, I suppose it could be, I don't know, maybe 5.6, 5.7. Anyway, yeah, we do have some QRNs from storms and Western Europe, I suppose. Let me just check it out, where the storms are at. And what else? Lazy morning. We were woken up by our daughter before 7 a.m. But I've managed to persuade her to lay in our bed and be quiet for a while. So anyway, I was the first one to get up and make coffee. And yeah, we got storms around the British Isles and around Sardinia. So the QRMs are coming from that. So it's almost 8:20. I'm still sipping on my first morning coffee in a half-a-liter jug. So beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful day. Clear blue sky. Sun is shining. We get 9 degrees on the north side when we got up, and it's going to be above 25 to 22 degrees. So pleasant autumn day. ZL1KVA SQ5 EBM.
SQ5 EBM, ZL1KVA. Thanks for the 5.9 peaking there, Miles. Much appreciated. And the storm's interesting. We've currently got a line of weakening thunderstorms just to the southwest of where I am in the Tasman Sea. And seems to have had a bit of a run of these at the moment. The static crashes late last week were incredible, and we have an 80-metre net, which was virtually impossible with the static crashes. And as for your daughter, well, lovely, I've got to say, you know, and full of life and energy. And I've got 2 daughters and 1 son, but they're all much older than your dear daughter. But a nice story that you've told me there. I've not been here very long, Miles, only about 3 years. I'm 68. I've left the entry into the hobby rather late, but really enjoying it. Operating conditions here, running barefoot, radio's an FTD X3000, and antenna is an 80-metre delta loop. I wonder what your operating conditions are, Miles. Over.
Grant, all copied fine. Well, I'm 45 here. My daughter is 4, so I'm late to the party, and trust me, it's not getting easier. But you know, she's fun. She's fun. Besides the fact that, of course, during the weekdays when you have to wake her up for the kindergarten at about 7 a.m., it's always problematic and always a drama queen. And when it comes down to weekends, 6 a.m. is nothing strange for her. So she wakes up early on weekends, as always. And I've been to the hobby. Well, I've been licensed in '95, but the first time I have picked the mic up was in autumn of 1990 on CB radio. I stutter in Polish, and I kind of stutter 99% less in English. A different part of brain is at work, I suppose, when you're using a foreign language. So, and you know, growing up in a kind of nasty neighborhood, my parents decided that having a hobby is something important. So, they supported my radio interests. They both were licensed amateur radio operators. Unfortunately, they have both passed away in recent years. But I've been to the hobby for a long time now, and I'm pushing here about 500 watts. 7-element, 7-band GXP Yagi, about 13.5 meters up. IC7600 is the rig. and of course long path. But your 80-meter delta is doing an excellent job. I do have one as well. I have a vertical 80 meters full size delta loop. I used to have a quarter wave vertical on 80, but I have modified it to be a 20-meter high capacity hat coil loaded vertical on 160. So I'm left only with the delta. So that's from the equipment here. And yeah, I've seen on the map that you got some storms between New Zealand and Tasmania and up on the North Islands. ZL1KVA SQ5 EBM.
SQ5 EBM, ZL1KVA. All copied, lovely signal here. I think your daughter's clever. I think she sorted it out. And knows just what to do, right? A lot of fun, you've got to say, really. Yeah, interesting. Your parents were radio amateurs, and you got a head start there. And I had, in my late teens, I bought a CB radio and got into a bit of trouble with it because it would transmit on the 10-meter band, which I did and shouldn't have. And I got a letter telling me to stop doing this, which I did as well. My job has been electronics in my life, industrial electronics, and have had some contact on the RF side, in particular RF test gear, but not on the transmitting side at all. So it was just something I took up when I reached retirement age, and really enjoy it. Now the Delta Loop, you have a vertical one, and I'm always confused with this. So mine's a triangle, but not a very equilateral triangle, but it's still a triangle. And I'm feeding it at the bottom at an apex. I'm feeding it partway down, nearly at the bottom. There's an apex at the bottom, and there's a very high up horizontal part. So with the ENC tape coming down to the bottom near the ground, about 5 meters high. So what does that make it? Does that make it a horizontal one or a vertical one, Miles? Over?
Don't ask me, the pinnacle of my electronic achievements is soldering a UC plug without the need of calling any EMS services. So, mine is not originally it should be the SP7LA Delta, but it's not. It's a triangle, and I feed it at the top. Because that was the point. I had already an extra feed line ready for an extra antenna. I was advised to fit it in one of the corners with a 75 ohms quarter wave coax, but if it works, don't break it. So I'm not planning on doing any mods to that. The only thing I've installed there is a custom-made balloon that can withstand 1.5 kW and FT8. Just in case you need to work some DX expedition. But don't ask me about any of that electronic stuff. You've been into electronics, and my parents were amateur radio operators much later than I was. So they got me into CB radio. My father was a trucker, so it kind of fits the picture right now. So he was a trucker. He had a CB radio, and I've started that. And of course, I was a radio pirate on 11 meters when I was a teen. Then upgraded to beginner ham, and but I've never been into electronics. By my first technical high school education, I'm a photographer, and I was a news photographer, then a DTP operator in graphics for plenty of years, 10 years in the movie industry as a Photoshop artist. So responsible for other movie stills and photo props, and for past I think 12 or 10 years maybe I'm into printing, and last 6 years in a multinational corporation with factories all over the world, and so I'm more of a kind of image guy than a solar gun, and resistors. So yeah, I'm kind of guy who I can read Plato in my bathtub for fun, but I can barely figure out 2 plus 2 equals 4. ZL2KVA SQ5 EBM.
SQ5 EBM, ZL1KVA. Very interesting. My son, who's nearly 30, he was working in graphic design, but fairly similar to your work experience in a way, although you're older than he is. But interesting. So, no, I do understand what you do. Very nice to speak with you, Miles, and you've got very good English, I've got to say. I don't know the first word of Polish. I should do, shouldn't I? Been reading a lot about your area, of the world lately with all the trouble, and been going back and trying to learn history and stuff like that. I was born in the 50s, wasn't that long after the Second World War, even though at the time I thought it was like, but as I've grown older, I realised it was only 10 years before. Anyhow, very nice to speak with you. I've really enjoyed it, and I don't let your daughter put you off anymore there, Miles. You're a lot of fun, and I remember my doctor telling me once a story about, he said, when you can go outside and you'll see a dog, and it runs along the road, it runs along and it jumps up in the air and it shakes itself, and then, and glee and just so happy. And that's what young children are like, When we get older, we lose that. So you've got to feed off that with your daughter. It's a lovely thing. Back to you, SQ5 EBM,
ZL1KVA SQ5 EBM. Grant, yeah, you're right. So I'm enjoying those moments till they last. In a couple of years, she will be locked up in her room and saying whatever. How was school? Fine. How are you? Fine. So I hate you guys, stuff like that. So I'm enjoying the time before she gets to the age of losing all the reason. That means being a teenager. Thank you for the compliments. I'm a mainly self-taught, and I did have some lessons, but I have no certificates in English and stuff like that. And I recently joked that I'm trying to speak English. I'm trying to bow my head in respect to my ancestors. One of them was from the British Isles, down in the 18th century. Most likely, the original name of that part of the family was Hill, Hill. My auntie's DNA, my parents are Gorman, and my mother's sister, she's 17% located with her DNA in around Kirk, and Kerry in Ireland. So, whenever in the kindergarten they say that my daughter is not following orders, and I tell them that she's a mix of Polish, Irish, Italian, and a few others. So be happy that you don't have an IRA group set up in your kindergarten, and you don't have an uprising already. So yeah, and I will be going QRT now. We are going for a amateur radio picnic in a forest educational center near me, a few kcs from my location. It is organized by the guys from my ham radio club. So we will be spending some time there, and you can on myqrz.com there are some additional infos to all the avenues of our hobby I've been to. So Grant, please send my regards to your family and to your son. The path he has chosen is not easy, especially if he has to withstand all those clients who have no idea what they want and they don't want to pay, and any kind of ideas he might have for a well-looking graphic design will always be ruined by a stupid client. So send my best to him and keep strong. ZL1KVA wishing you all the best. This is Sierra Quebec 5. Echo Bravo Mike.
Sierra Papa 5, Echo Bravo Mike. This is Little Lima 1 Kilo Victor Alpha. I will do that. Thank you very much for your encouragement there. And my job, doesn't have much money, but I always kind of was fascinated with it. Now, you're going to, I think I might have found something out here because only a half hour ago I spoke to a station Peter, Sierra Papa 5, Victor Yankee, and he said he was going to meet his radio friends. And I wonder if it's the same miles over.
Yeah, Peter lives nearby, about, I don't know, 4 kilometers straight line, maybe 5 kilometers, something like that. And I've known Peter for many years. He wasn't active for a long time, but when I was a teenager and I was active on CB Radio, Peter was a local CB Radio club manager. And I remember when I first visited his QTH in Warsaw, and I saw a wall with some ham radio awards. I was impressed, and I wanted to have them awards one day. So he was a kind of an inspiration at that stage. So he already retired and came back to the hobby. The biggest picnic, the biggest radio meeting we have in Poland is in late May. The one we have right now is the 7th edition for our region. So maybe he was mentioning the first one or the one right now. I'm not sure, but certainly this one here in Celestinów near me is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in our region. And it all started with an idea of a very young ham, a friend of mine, who was our club member back then, and he had an idea to organize an event as such, and here we are 7 years later. Grant, I will be going QRT now, so if you want to take over this frequency, feel free to do so, and thank you again very much for this QSO. Oh, and by the way, about what you said about history, yeah, well, down here, if you are not interested in history, you will be doomed to repeat it. And unfortunately, people right now are getting stupid, kinda, and are failing to connect the dots in a straight line too often. So I'm a political scientist by my university education. So, and specializing in defense. So we could talk about that for hours, and we will be cursed on the radio for mentioning topics as such. So all the best to you, Grant. Until the next time. ZL1KVA SQ5 EBM.
SQ5 EBM, ZL1KVA. Thanks, Miles. No, Peter said he was going to one today, so I'm pretty sure you're going to see him there. What are the chances of that? And lovely to speak to you. Really enjoyed it. And no doubt we'll meet again, Miles. And have a good day, buddy. And enjoy your daughter. All the best from Auckland, New Zealand. 73.
Thank you very much, Grant. It's always great to copy ZLs anywhere. It's from us. Further, there's only Chatham Islands. So thank you and all the best. Bye bye. And this is Sierra Quebec 5, Echo Bravo Mike going QRT.